And so I'm at least trying to work across that and in context of all
What
our
is something you do differently?
Well, I think we would have done everything differently.
Wow. So after he destroyed his own state's economy, millions of school children lost out on educational opportunities as well as scholarship opportunities from athletics that they would have been awarded, not to mention the mental stress that was placed on the lockdowns, not to mention the businesses, small businesses that were crushed and destroyed. Shazam, Batman, he'd have done it different. Let's take a look at Governor Gavin Newsom and his Rovid awakening.
Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth.
Hi, I'm Pastor Marty. This is the Afternoon Drive. Thank you so much for stopping by for my daily rant, ravings, and of course, my undeniably flawless reasonings. Hey, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Once you've checked that, please smack the bell, click the word all to get notification, allegedly, of all of my rants and ravings. And then please like and share this video. Welcome to the Afternoon Drive. Up Chuck Todd, which is getting ready to pass the mantle off to a new female host of Meet the Depressed, had an interview with Gavin Newsom that I have to admit I'm pleasantly surprised, a little bit stunned, and shocked he actually did some journalism. He pushed back on Governor Gavin Newsom about his Rovid policies, basically pointing out that he had some of the strictest in the nation. But I would argue, and I can't believe I have to defend Gavin Newsom on this, not exactly the strictest. That award goes to Cruella DeWittmer, the governor of Michigan, who was actually arresting people if they were seen outside their homes during the day when it was in compulsory lockdown, you were under curfew, and you must stay in your home. There were city officials and police showing up at people's private homes if they were outside mowing the lawn, planting a garden. Their gardens would be torn up. They would be cited and fined on the spot and remitted basically into their homes for house arrest. Yeah, that was Governor Whitmer of Michigan. So Gavin didn't go to quite that extreme, but he certainly had his extremes, in particular in shutting down businesses, which really seemed to affect small businesses, but of course not any of the big box stores. And it really affected households of faith, churches. And Chuck Todd points this out to the governor.
It was during COVID. You were pretty strict with the lockdowns here. And there was an interesting piece in Harper's that sort of was critical of your decisions from this perspective. You found a way to allow the motion picture industry and the sort of the movie industry to get back to work. But you didn't allow people to grieve together at funerals or at churches. And that this may be why there's such a polarized disconnect. What you prioritize, right? This is this anger between the populace and the elite, supposedly. Here, you prioritize this industry, but you were tougher on those that just wanted to go worship.
And just to refresh the governor's memory how this worked,
Grace Community Church filed dueling lawsuits with Los Angeles County about their right to worship where and how they please.
We're not meeting because we want to be rebellious. We're meeting because our Lord has commanded us to come together and worship Him.
Pastor John MacArthur was welcomed during the service this morning with cheers and applause after a week of court rulings. LA County filed suit first, ordering the church to move services outside. The church filed its own complaint Wednesday against state and local leaders, saying they show unconstitutional favoritism in enforcement, allowing department stores and factories to stay open inside, but not houses of worship.
It's actually hard to figure out exactly what the city is trying to do with us and to us, but we know they don't want us to do exactly what we're doing right now.
Friday, a Superior Court judge ruled they can have indoor service. Then Saturday night, an appellate court said no way. But the congregation showed up anyway.
Totally agree. We should stay open.
Grace Community Church does offer an outdoor seating option. But for the folks coming here today that we spoke with, they say they don't feel uncomfortable inside at all.
We go inside. I'm not uncomfortable in either place.
No, I don't feel nervous at all.
Some wore masks, few socially distanced, and the live feed of the service made sure not to show the crowd, but they were clearly heard. As for the county, they say although today's actions could result in citations, right now they are focused on education. As many we spoke with here say they don't believe the risk of transmission is as high as health officials claim.
Dr. John MacArthur and his church staff were actually fined $5,000 a day, even if it was just Dr. MacArthur and some of the staff members showing up on the church property. There was actually a police car in the parking lot, and names would be taken and license plates photographed of people showing up at church property during the week to, I don't know, go to work. Do the administration of the ministry. People showing up wanting counsel, wanting prayer, wanting whatever. That's what John MacArthur had to deal with in the state of California. But according to the governor, listen, we did what we did because we didn't know. I didn't know. I just didn't know. It wasn't my fault.
There's a lot of humility, and we didn't know what we didn't know. And it was hardly it was we. Collectively.
I understand
and
that.
I think all of us, in terms of our collective wisdom, we've evolved. We didn't know what we didn't know. We're experts in hindsight. We're all geniuses.
But think about
ran out of gas. I had a flat tire. I didn't have enough money for cab fare. My tux didn't come back from the cleaners. An old friend came in from out of town. Someone stole my car. There was an earthquake. A terrible flood. Locust. It wasn't my fault, I swear to God!
So really, that's going to be the defense line now. We really, we just didn't know what we didn't know. We just thought we were, dealing with this mass pandemic that was just going to wipe out the planet. We didn't know. There is an old saying that when you don't know, err on the side of caution. Not restriction and fascism, but when you don't know, then slow down and don't act like an expert, because then it comes across as authoritarian fascism. That said, again, Chuck Todd brings the conversation back around and he says, but Mr. Governor, you clearly picked some businesses, like the movie industry, to be open. They could be on the streets. The crew and the cameramen and all that were masked, but gee, the actors could walk around as if it was normal. And in so picking the movie industry to be able to do business, you didn't allow the mom and pop stores to be open and to do business. You crushed houses of worship, churches. Was this along ideological lines? I mean, I'm actually kind of proud of Chuck Todd for how he handled this.
you're prioritizing an industry, in one specific one, but then didn't prioritize maybe ones whose maybe values you didn't connect with.
I don't think it's a binary. There was iterations within that theme. There was fits and starts. There were regional frameworks that had impacts more broadly defined. There were more industry specific frameworks. All of us went through a process. I mean, there was few states that didn't go into aggressive lockdowns, including Florida's Ron DeSantis.
No, I understand that, but it was
but within the framework of the industry.
Who opened the door? It's what industry got leniency and which ones
all
didn't.
of it is.
Again, as a reminder to the governor who simply wants to just say, oops, my bad, we really just, we just didn't know. His immediate step in, authoritarian, this is what we're going to do. Now, he wasn't quite as swarmy about it as Cuomo over in New York, who eventually got bounced by his own party out of office, who, when people were asking about, they couldn't go to work, they didn't have jobs, and what were they going to do? And basically, Andrew Cuomo in a press conference said, then go get an essential job. Wow, really? Really? Okay. Of course, he also fired 70,000 plus health workers in his state for refusing love potion number 9. But that's another topic for another day. So to remind Gavin Newsom of what his policies did to small business, let's take a little trip back in time.
I'm losing everything. Everything I own is being taken away from me. And they set up a movie company right next to my outdoor patio, which is right over here.
Angela Marsden, owner of Pineapple Hill Saloon and Grill, outraged and emotional, posting this video on social media after she saw production tents and tables set up in a parking lot just a few feet from the outdoor dining area she's not allowed to use.
They have not given us money and they have shut us down. We cannot survive. My staff cannot survive. Look at this. Tell me that this is dangerous, but right next to me as a slap in my face, that's safe. This is safe.
I guess I was in shock. So I walked in and then I'm going to make signs and give out last paychecks and I just started crying. And I just was like, I can't take anymore. Like I literally have been punched in the face 10 times over. I have done the dance. I've done everything that they've wanted.
Marsden has owned the bar and grill she calls the Cheers of this Sherman Oaks neighborhood for 10 years. She spent around $80,000 building an outdoor patio and making changes to meet LA's COVID health requirements. But Marsden has run out of loan money and can't afford to offer takeout, so for now, she's closing.
The day they come to get their last paycheck, you punch me in the face and say that this is dangerous, right? Right here is dangerous. But just walk over there and eat.
People involved in the television production were seen dining under the tents. Marsden and other small business owners are making signs, preparing to hold a protest at the home of LA County Supervisor Sheila Kuehl.
Mayor Garcetti and Gavin Newsom is responsible for every single person that doesn't have unemployment, that does not have a job, and all the businesses that are going under. And we need your help. We need somebody to do something about this.
This was the single largest transfer of wealth in history. And this is what has empowered WEF, the World Economic Forum, and Klaus Schwab to tell you you will eat bugs and you will like it. And you do not need to own your own home. That is just a burden to you. You will live in assigned housing. We will give you electric cars the size of roller skates, and you will drive it, and you will like it. And we will give you high-speed trains because we're going to do it planes because they're poisoning the planet. In other words, we're going to shut down anything that gives you the opportunity for economic growth and expansion. And that includes fossil fuel, because with fossil fuel comes freedom. I'm going to take all that away, and you will like it. And so the box stores could all be open. Certain things like strip clubs could be open. Liquor stores could be open. But your mom and pop hardware store, your mom and pop diners, and churches, they could not be open. Anything that provides freedom. See, the church is an enemy of the state because it offers the message of the gospel. And the message of the gospel, the message of Christ, is freedom. And independent businesses, small business, well, that's freedom. That's economic freedom. You might actually start to build something called generational wealth, and they can't have that. And this was a test run to crush all of that. So, yeah, Yeah, Mr. Governor. But then I just absolutely gotta love this question.
And so I'm at least trying to work across that and in context of all
What
our
is
local.
something you do differently?
Well, I think we would have done everything differently. We would have done everything differently.
Really? What would you do different, Mr. Governor? What you say you would do everything different. Would you not do the hat mandate? Would you let people be outside? I never understood that. Even in the state I live in, they were taking down basketball hoops and chaining up playgrounds, and you couldn't be outside. Sunlight, vitamin D, one of the most natural immune enhancers there is. Vitamin D, the sun. You know why places like Florida and Texas did better? It wasn't simply because those governors opened things up a little faster. And let me just remind you, Ron, Deep State Ron, who likes to take these victory laps that, look what I did for Florida. Yeah, well, there were states like South Dakota that never closed. You closed your beaches. You were under strict lockdowns in the very beginning. And Governor, the reason people did better in your state and the reason people did okay in California, despite all of the lunacy with the maddening mandates, is people ignored the outdoor mandates. They went outside, and Shazam, Batman, vitamin D has a way of killing viruses and strengthening the body so that you don't even get them to begin with. Or if you do, you get an extremely mild case. Why? Because that's real science. Would you do the lockdowns different, Governor? Would schools get to stay open so the kids are now not 2 years behind? Would you do away with the concept of the forced jab? What exactly would you do different? Because we know that you lived your life in the midst of all of those mandates and lockdowns. You lived it completely normally. Why? Did you not really believe that this was as serious as you were telling all of us? Did you know something we didn't know? Because you were living your life as rules are for thee, but not for me.
Photos emerged showing the governor apparently unmasked and in close quarters with a large group at the French Laundry in Napa Valley. Newsom has apologized for attending the dinner, calling it, quote, a bad mistake. Newsom and other state leaders have urged Californians to be extra vigilant amid the biggest spike in infections since the pandemic began, most recently asking residents to stay home and avoid visiting extended family over Thanksgiving. Also attending that dinner, according to Politico, were two top executives for the California Medical Association, which lobbies on behalf of doctors in the state.
The problem with Gavin Newsom, too, is he sends kids home, right? Closes the schools while his kids go to private schools.
And then Chuck Todd asked the ultimate question. Are we ever going to have to deal with this again?
You think this country can handle another pandemic, or do you think it would break us?
I think we have to. We're a resilient country, so it wouldn't break us. But I'm not convinced we've learned the lessons from the last one, and I think science took a big hit.
No, Mr. Governor, science did not take a hit. Real science has always been what it's been. Things like herd immunity, building up your immunity. There were drugs available, ivermectin, that were completely effective at treating this. That we were lied to, we were denied. We were denied about the origins. We were lied to about don't mask, then double mask, then triple mask. We were lied to. And I am science. I am not to be questioned, even though the advancement of science demands questioning. That's what peer review is all about. It's constantly about looking at something and saying, you know what? I don't know if this is the right way to do this. You know, there was a time in this country when doctors healed people, or treated people, I should say, by leeching them. Well, let's get the bad blood out of them. Funny, if they had just consulted a book called, the Bible. The Bible says that life is in the blood. And medical science finally got around to understanding, well, when something's going on with somebody, we don't need to give them less blood. They need more. Health and life and vitality is in the blood. See, that happened because science questioned itself. Science questioned itself by is this planet, is this really flat? Could we sail off the end? Wait, it's a sphere? It's a globe? Really? Yeah, we got there. We questioned. So this whole idea of just do what you're told, that was the Fauci mandate. And again, Mr. Governor, you said something rather chilling, that we haven't learned our lesson.
You think this country can handle another pandemic, or do you think it would break us?
I think we're a resilient country, so it wouldn't break us. But I'm not convinced we've learned the lessons from the last one, and I think science took a big hit.
I'm going to close this out with Dr. John MacArthur, senior pastor of Grace Community Church and chancellor of Masters University. And he's going to walk you through what were the actual requirements, restrictions, mandates being levied at his church and churches across California. Because you already have the governor admitted, we haven't learned anything. Yeah, we're going to do this stuff again. Listen to this.
The question has come up a number of times about why Grace Church does not just comply with the orders that have been laid down for churches. And I thought it might be helpful to give you the list of things that are required of us as a church, so that you understand how utterly impossible that would be. Here are the basic orders. No indoor meetings at all. Pre-registration of every person who comes onto church property. People only allowed on church property for scheduled events. Every person who comes on the property is to be screened and have their temperature taken at the entry. We all must maintain 6 feet of social distance at all times everywhere, including the parking lot and the restrooms. Every other parking space must be left vacant. Marked pathways to maintain social distance, keeping people apart, monitored by staff monitors. Everyone always wearing a mask. Restroom monitors to control 6 feet social distancing at restrooms. Tape on the ground marking distance. Signs indicating these mandates, and also full exposure on social media. Restrooms are to be used during the service to minimize the rush. That would be interesting. No hymn books, no communion, no offering containers, no pew Bibles, no singing, no hugging, no shaking hands. Disposable seat covers changed between services. And the services have to be shortened. That's not a problem to me, right? And based upon the separation, we could only meet in the tent with a maximum of 350 to 400 people. You can see that these are the requirements that would completely shut the church down. Anybody who comes in contact with someone outside their family for more than 15 minutes must self-quarantine for 2 weeks. Obviously, this is not constitutional, but more importantly, it goes against the will of the Lord of the church. He calls us to gather. Amen? So look at the person next to you and say, I don't know who you are, but I'm so glad I'm sitting next to you.